being recorded.
Yeah, hello everybody for another session of the XStepCafe. Pretty small group today. I'm very sorry. I tried to send out my emails to everybody, but it didn't work. I need to work on that for next time. Yeah. Anyway, I hand over to Uwe for his presentation. Uwe?
Hello everybody. I will just do something that we planned for this week. So, step and share my screen. Hopefully you should be able to see a PowerPoint slideshow. Okay. Today I want to give you brief information about two new nodes that we created within the last months and weeks and days. And there's another thing that I planned to present today. It is the activation of the standard XStep functionality or the XStep functionality for reference operation sets, but we might shift this to a later date. Okay. First of all, in last times we had some discussions with customers, with partners, with consultants saying, okay, we need improvements on this or that functionality. And when they asked us, then we told them, okay, there are existing SAP nodes that exactly cover your requirements, but it's quite sometimes not that easy to identify those SAP nodes. Therefore, we decided to create a node that we named improvement of production execution by SAP nodes, and want to give you some additional information to that. This node contains a central collection of improvements that we were able to ship via SAP nodes. I'll just show you the document in a couple of seconds. The most important thing is that you get an overview about the improvement, a short description, what is really achieved improvement. And there's a document, there's an attached PDF file. It also contains a direct link to the SAP node so that you can easily pick up the node, check the node, and also check the requirements that exist for this node and decide if you want to implement the node or not. There are a couple of applications that we want to cover. So you should see an overview here. So we have applications that are also used in the environment of SAP core ERP core manufacturing, like the NetWeaver-based audit trail. And also, if you work with plant connectivity, you might be familiar with our ABAP interface. So there also have been some improvements. And there, the digital signature with including the digital signature tool, the electronic batch records, then the process management and components that are part of the process management, like the manufacturing data access and inter-session eventing, process messages, the SAP OPC data access, of course, browser-based PI sheet and the electronic work instructions and execution steps. And I want to show you how it looks like, so you get a first impression on that. So perhaps I'll try to improve the screen. So this is a PDF. This PDF, so perhaps I'll show you the, sorry. This PDF is attached to the mentioned SAP node. So just briefly show you how it looks like. So we have a table of content with all those improvements sorted by the application, like the NetWeaver-based audit trail. You get the link to the documentations of the features and functions. So also the description, how to find it, and also direct links to it. And also we have related to the application the chapters and paragraphs that describe improvements improved usability, also performance improvement. Here in our case, the archiving of long text logs. And if we scroll down a little bit, you will also see for the electronic batch records some improvement on usability, especially with some features that are not that familiar for the most of our customers, but that they are possible and usable, like the usage of the batch record for production orders, and also the assignment of additional content to the batch record, which is a function that's also used productively by some of our customers, and also improvements that have been shipped with SAP notes with regards to the deviation analysis. And this document is in version 1.1, so it contains the SAP notes that are related to performance improvements, usability improvements, and that improve the, let's say, reduce the total cost of ownership when you say activate or use the functions that are introduced within those SAP nodes. And this includes the nodes that have been created until December last year. There's also one part. I will just briefly scroll down a little bit, scroll up again. If we, as an example, have a look at the digital signature tool, the application part, then you see the famous SAP Note 700-495 that describes the implementation of the digital signature tool. You get also the direct link to the SAP library file, and also the description of the menu path, where you can access the corresponding chapter in the SAP library. And here one improvement, a usability improvement that explains the transaction DES log that is capable of displaying the application logs. And for some let's say improvements, some content, we also added some screenshots and a really brief description to get you enough information to decide if you look into this topic with more detail, or if you say, okay, I'm fine with that, I don't see any reasons why I should use this improvement. This is also fine for us. Okay, and the last chapter deals with the activation of the XStep functionality for reference operation sets, but we'll demo this later on. Okay, so this is available via the SAP node, and we also will link this document within our XStepCafe. So I think this is quite better comfort compared to, say, searching the needle in the haystack, and hope that you enjoy the collection of information that we are going to present here. So the next topic that I want just to touch, some of you might know the so-called XStep library, or a standard XStep library that we first shipped with the business process expert community in the year 2007. So we have passed 1 decade. So we'll get our 10th birthday this summer. And in the meantime, it's not that easy to get those files, those XML files, those Word document descriptions from the SAP community network, because we had a shift to a new presentation, the SAP communities, and we got feedback from some of our customers, from some of you, saying, I would like to upload the XML files, but I'm not able to find them to access them at all. And here was the point where we decided, okay, and then provide an SAP node. SAP nodes are accessible to our customers, and add those XStep library content, those zip files, as attachments of this SAP, as an attachment of the SAP node. And I just described Also, the second way to get the XStep library content by the SAP store is not that, let's say, self-explaining, and we also added information how you can download, if you want to download the content from the SAP store, how the steps are. I think we also added some information in the XStepCafe, but now it should be more easier for you to get this information. And also what you see here, we have the SAP node, and the SAP node is also linked. So we will attach this document to our blog, and then you can also directly jump into the SAP node and download the zip files, usual procedure, and let's say alternatively you can download the content using the SAP store. So Anna, I just got a beep.
I think that's Milton probably. I'll try to mute him. Okay, continue please.
Okay, so from perspective of, let's say, the XStep library, we will also, if we do some, let's say, enhancements, perhaps we should do. We did the last release of our content 10 years ago. Then we also, which will be quite more easier for us to do this by an attachment of an SAP node, and also to for you to access the content of this SAP node. So these were the two topics that I would like to present. Perhaps I can just spend some details on the point that we might demo within our next session. Some of you might know that the XSteps can be used within standard routings and production orders. And in the beginning, we also had the idea, or we also did some implementations for the XSteps in reference operation sets, but we did not deliver it because we faced one general issue that we haven't been able to solve it within the development time frame. Now, some customers that work with routings and XSteps and production orders, they ran into an error when they created an XStep in the standard routing and assigned the XStep to a content of a reference operation that they introduced by referencing in the reference operation set. At the point in time when you create a production order using this content, the system will not copy this XStep that is assigned to the content of the reference operation set operation. And we were able to fix this issue. It's the bug fix that is described here. But we also then came to the conclusion that it makes sense to at least allow the usage of the XSteps in our reference operation sets, because most of the implemented coding parts that exist could be reused, and it was, let's say, only a minor step to get this functionality active again. And we introduced a new business add-in, a body. This body is CPC XStep, and we wrapped the functionality that is part of the XStep adoption for reference operations in these body methods, and provide a SAMS implementation that prevents that the XStep functionality is active for reference operation sets in standard. So this is also to ensure that nobody who does not want to use automatically want to use the XSteps for reference operation sets is forced to do so. Gets aware of this, our tiny little ice cube in the GUI status bar. but the activation of this functionality is quite easy to achieve. You only have to create a custom implementation of the body. You could inherit the content of the sample fallback class that we ship and just override one method that then activates the XStep functionality to the reference operation sets. It's also described in this in the SAP notes. One remark to the SAP notes. There are 3 of them. This does not mean that we made so many mistakes in the first attempt to fix the bug, is that we have to deliver it within 3 nodes. No, we have a merging of the software application APPL, which contains most of the coding, most of the logic that is used by process management, by PPPI PMA. This layer, this extension layer, was merged with the classical application layer SAP APPL, and this merge was done in the classical business suites, starting with Enhancement Package 8, and therefore we are able to provide one node, this node 2383905, for activation, for bug fixing and activation of the XStep functionality for releases that contain Enhancement Package 8 and SAP S/4HANA on-premise. But we had to adopt coding parts that belong to both software layers, SAP APPL and EA APPL, in the lower releases, because here we have a strict separation of functionality. And this is, let's say, as a consequence, we have 2 nodes. The first node, 2402215, it contains all the coding that is necessary for activation bug fixing in the SAP APPL layer. And the follow-up node, the node 2402216 contains the major parts that belong to the EA APPL layer, so where also the process management coding elements for XSteps and PI sheets are located too. So don't be confused by that. It works pretty well. And the question is, should I give a brief demo, or should we stop at this point and answer some questions that here the audience might have?
Short demo would be great.
Okay, so then nobody said that. Okay, so first of all, I hope that you are sorry. So I want to switch to the so that I get it. So I just receive a problem with my system. Okay. Okay, so first of all, reference operation sets are, let's say, a routing type in the SAP ERP environment, like master recipes or the standard routings. Those reference operation sets, they are mainly used for defining things, tasks, operations that you do mostly independent from any, let's say, task that is specific for producing a special machine, a special good, or a special material. And these reference operation sets are unfortunately not usable by the PPPI staff, so by master recipes you cannot use them. but sure, you can use them in combination with classical routing, so standard routing. I will just briefly show you how it works. So here's an easy access menu, and hopefully find it. We have this production branch, and I think we should go for master data for routings. And here you see the reference operation sets. The German phrase is Standardarbeitsplan. Okay. I created one reference operation set before that would just show to you. And if you're familiar with the, let's say, the codings, the transaction codes for the classical routing maintenance CA01, you see you get almost the same, say, transaction code CA11 for creation of a reference operation set. Okay. Oh, if I just switch one. See, there are a couple of things, and I just defined reference operation sets that I would like to use for cleaning the assembly line where I created over my machines I assembled and built. Okay. So just information, the system also detects if this reference operation set is already used. And when we just do the next step, you see we have let's say also routing header like we do have in master recipe or standard routings. You have this operation view. What you might recognize if you work with standard routings is that you don't have any sequence with the possibility that you have alternative sequence or parallel sequences. So this is from a structural perspective, you only have one sequence. So it's quite similar to the master recipes. They also have only one sequence, and you can also can have operation 10 in one sequence. But in master recipes you don't get aware of sequence 0. It's just for the sake of be able to use the same architecture that the routings use. What we do have are those operations. We have this control keys, PP01. We could have standard text keys. I just added here some description, like prepare the cleaning, execute the cleaning, and check the cleaning results. So nothing it's really strange with respect to maintenance of routings. What's new when you activate this function, this body, then you get our famous ice cube. So click on that. And then what we do have is, let's say, the same structure, the same possibility for you to maintain the XStep data. Don't be scared about the German text here. This is a development system that doesn't contain the, let's say, the current translation. So in the support package or in, if you implement the node, then you get the description how those text symbols that are part of this button have to be maintained. So, but let's say, I think we got this icon, so they can jump to the order header. You can jump to the operation overview or to the material component overview. So what you can use everything that you can use for if you maintain a master recipe or if you maintain a routing. We used different symbols to display the operation context. I will just click on here. So if we want to choose one of those operations that are part of the reference operation sets, they're indicated with a different icon. This is also necessary because you could reference those reference operation sets in routings, and then at one point in time you have to at least be able to identify which operation belongs to the standard routing and which does belong to the reference operation set. So similar to the things that you might be familiar with is you get the successors. And what I did is I just choose one operation context for the cleaning operation. Here I want to have that the user adds a cleaning result, and here I just also defined a digital signature that he or she can confirm that the cleaning results are checked. If we execute the simulation, it's not that okay, so it didn't encounter that. So this seems to be something different. How could could be that we take some time. Okay, so it looks a little bit different. Now we use the same style sheets for the simulation that we use for the standard order, but let's say here the context is displayed differently. But it's just for the sake of the simulation, and it's not a big deal to work with that. Okay, so here we defined the reference operation set, and you see I don't also assign any material to it. And now let's have a look how it would, don't want to change, save the group, what it does look like when we embed such an reference operation set into standard routing. So first I have just remove this, and I think I built will just remove those operations and save it and change it again. Okay, what you see now here is a standard routing that describes an assembling procedure for motor and the cogwheels, Zahnräder of German translation. We just bolt the case, we execute a test run, and we transfer the assembled machine to the warehouse. In addition to that, we created a classical XStep tree that contains some fancy stuff. You can also try to simulate it. Okay, and you see here operation 10 just fills out the assembly operation and operation text. And in operation 30, we have a date and the time of the test run that you could enter, and also you can also create a command. Okay, so this is nothing that's really exciting. The most exciting thing now happens here. Okay, I'm saying I want to add the cleaning of the assembly line. Then I can create a so-called reference to a reference operation set. I'll mark one of those operations and click on the operation reference operation sets. And here I can define an operation that is used, let's say, as a source of a target of this referenced operations that are then automatically entered. Just typed in one that does not exist, which is not that bad. And then I want to pick up the reference operation set that we saw before for the assembly line cleaning. So then I press enter. What you see here is the system entered a new operation 31, and it displays the operations of the reference operation sets that I defined before. There's a slight adjustment of the operation numbers. So for prepare cleaning, I got operation 10 in the reference operation set. For exit cleaning, let's say defined operation 20, but this does not fit into the gap between operation 30 and 40, and therefore the system automatically adjusts its operations. In this state, these operations, they are just referenced. So we have a new introduced operation, 31 operation, that is then also stored to the database. But all those operations that you see here, they are just referenced and not copied into the routing operation overview. Now the interesting thing is our reference operation that contains XStep trees. What happens to that? And here we decided to do the following. We copy the XStep tree of the reference operation set into this routing and copy all of those operations, so all of the XStep content, and also we kept the operation context of this reference operation set operation to the reference operation set, because it's just referenced. And here, this is the XStep tree of the routing that we created before, and this object, it will disappear when you save the routing and it will be created on loading, because it's not, it's still also referenced from the reference operation set. Sounds a little bit strange, but this means that you cannot do any changes on this tree. It's just referenced. The big advantage of this approach is, as long as you link to this reference operation set, you could also change the content of the reference operation set. So if you would enter operation 40 to the reference operation set, then the next time you load the routing, you will see also here the operation 40 as operation 34. Same as the exit content of the reference operation set. If it is changed and you load the standard routing again, then you will see also the content of the change content of the except tree. So it's quite loosely coupled. So what I do, I will just save it and load it again. So you see also it is referenced. Now it is possible that you explode those references. This means you will copy the content of the reference operation set operation that is referenced here to the routing, and you will loosen also the link to the reference, so it will appear as a, let's say, as a normal operation of this routing. Again, same for the exit content, but I won't do this that way, so we just keep it as it is. The really interesting thing is how does the system behave when I create a production order for this material. Standard procedure. So once we created it, I just typed in the material. I will just set it to the current date, and now we can first check how does the operation overview look like. What you see here, this is also standard behavior for reference operation sets that are part of routings. Once you create a production order based on this routing that contains the reference operation sets, those operations will then be copied to the operations of the production order. So you won't reference anymore the reference operation set, but it's just a copy. So the reference operation 31 is now the real operation 31 of the production order. What happens to the XStep trees? Of course, we have what you would expect. We have the XStep tree from the routing, the assemble the machine part, that also contains the content that we defined. Also, we have this specific operation XStep that is linked to the operation 30, and we also copied the XStep tree that belongs to the reference operation set of the operation 31 to 33. And the interesting part is what happens to the context. If you might remember, in the routing, we had the linkage to of this XStep to the content of the operation that belongs to the reference operation set. But now, during creating the production order, the context of the reference operation set operation is then automatically exchanged against the context of the operation, that is of the reference operation set operation that is copied into the production order. So this automatically works. You don't need to have to adjust anything here. So if I would now save it, and reset and create the control recipes, everything will work as it works for production orders and routings. So that's it from the perspective of the activation of the reference operation sets. The functionality for XSteps, vice versa. And something that might be worth to mention, I assigned generation scopes, especially also to this XStep block. And if we now have this generation scope, and we create control recipes or control instructions and explode the this operation generation scope, then the system, of course, will duplicate this lower part for all operations, and not only all operations of the production order, and not the operations that have been specifically that were part of the former reference operation set that was copied. This is something that one has to be aware of. But if you assign, let's say, this operation context, then this block will only be, let's say, replicated for the operation 33. So,
Uwe?
Yes?
Could you use a custom generation scope and somehow know which of these operations came from the reference? Or are they just, is that information nowhere to find?
You could identify these operations from the operation data of the production order. I think this is at least stored in one of those let's say attributes. But I know from we had discussions with the customer that pointed us to the problem with the context of the reference operation sets. And for them, it seems to be quite familiar not to use the generation scopes. If they do, let's say, if you work in this manner, they say, okay, have cleaning steps, then I have, let's say, the step 1, 2, 3.
But maybe for the audience, I mean, you might find a clever way to make your own generation scope and sort of make sure that's only done for those operations.
But this is something that I can also can check. I'm pretty sure that we get this information because I also use at least the same information in the routing to distinguish between the operations that belong to the routing and belong to the reference operation set. But this is a very good point. I will try to shed more light on this. Yeah, thanks. I will just note it down. Okay, then I would just stop with the demo. For the PPPI folks, it might be not that interesting, but I also know that some of our customers that work with batch-oriented production, they also use routings and production orders for at least if you handle, let's say, also packages or listers for the active ingredients that you produce and or handling units. So this might be quite helpful. And it really was not the big deal to get it up and running. Okay. Other questions?
Thanks, Uwe. Questions?
No, not from my side.
Not from my side either. Thank you.
Okay. Not sure about Milton. I muted you because there was some noise. Not sure whether you still listen. Okay, no reaction. Then probably we can just stop, and that's a good thing because we are at the end of our slot. Okay, then thanks a lot for your participation, and hopefully I get my email out next time. And until I talked with Uwe, maybe we do it in April already because I shifted the last session already, so that because Uwe has some more stuff to show. Okay.
As always.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good day.